I really like daffodils. They're yellow and cheerful. Ours have white petals around the yellow center. They seem to be smiling, even laughing sometimes. This makes me think of that TV show as a kid, The Magic Garden. Remember the Chuckle Patch? As you probably know, because apparently most people know this and I just learned it, daffodils also have meaning. As some of the very first flowers we see in springtime, their appearance tells us winter is over. Some meanings given to them are what they represent: rebirth and new beginnings. But is it really all on one color flower? I mean, look around. I also saw tulips, red and purple ones. And as I walk Nora up the road in the morning, I pass our red Japanese maple. Red is incredible. Remember I did an entire episode on the color red? Then around the bend, before I even see it, I smell a lilac tree on a neighbor's lawn, and then see the purple in the lilacs. I believe this flowering is a signal from nature. I am here. I am present. I am proudly part of this world. This is happening. Enjoy me if you can, but I'm enjoying being here nonetheless. Yeah, it's not luck that it's here. It's confidence to bloom. And you know something? Any time of year, especially right now, you just can't take it for granted.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 park poodles, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a city, yeah. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a city-it.
I'm Matt Zucker, and this is City It, learning to live and love life in the Hudson Valley. Episode 67. Everybody, well, mostly everybody, knows June is traditionally Pride Month in the US and much, but not all of the world. This is different than LGBT History Month, which is in October and coincides with National Coming Out Day. Back in episode 20, Very Local Pride, I talk about how Bride and I met at the Pride March in New York after marching with my parents, and then marching later in Tivoli's first parade 20 years later, and the beauty of it in a small town. This year is anything but small. Pride is back with a vengeance. Celebration, activism, a bit of relief, of worry, of excitement, and a lot of purpose. While New York City's Big March is the last Sunday in June, much of the activities across the Hudson Valley start the very first weekend, which is why I'm getting this out ahead of time. Friday, June 3rd, the flag goes up in Hudson at 7:30 p.m. at Hudson City Hall. Hudson's march down Warren Street is Saturday, June 4th. Also Saturday, June 4th, Stanford, New York has its first Pride celebration, starting with a proclamation reading at the Stanford Town Hall at 12:30 p.m. This is followed by a community barbecue and live music at 1 p.m. in Stanfordville at Bangleworks. You may remember hearing about Bangleworks and meeting Steve and Tom who run it on episode 49. Sunday, June 5th is New Paltz's March, followed by the Hudson Valley Pride Tea Dance. Saturday, June 11th is the March in Poughkeepsie. Sunday, June 12th is Albany's. Saturday, June 18th is Pride Plus in Callicoon, their first ever. And Sunday, June 26th, well, you know that's the father, mother, Gunkel, and Liza Minnelli of all marches, Pride in New York City. Actually, there's a lot more. So much that I put up on cityit.com a blog post with activities across dates and towns of whatever I could dig up from various sources. So go have a look. There's a link in the show notes. Now for this episode, I didn't just want to rattle off a big list, but I wanted to hear from someone at the center of Pride, someone I'm proud to have just met. Osun Zotique is Executive Director of OutHudson and the Co-Grand Marshal of Hudson Pride. If you're following the news, you may have also seen that Osun just announced a run for Congress to represent the new 19th District. This is historic. To their knowledge, Osun is the first trans non-binary candidate to run for national office. Amazing, right? Osun and I talk about Pride in the Hudson Valley, about pride at this point in the pandemic after a multi-year hiatus, about LGBTQ contribution to the upstate's community, economy, and culture. I learn about forest bathing and how this year's Pride is an opportunity to take that COVID stickiness and, well, dance it out.
Hey, Matt.
Thanks for coming on City It.
Wow, what a pleasure to be here with you and talking about this upcoming summer in the Hudson Valley.
I know, and
So
Pride
much
too. I
going
mean,
on.
and you're like a Pride celebrity, being co-marshal. What's your stature?
Yes, I'm the co-Grand Marshal
Grand
of
Marshal.
the Hudson Pride Parade, and also invited to be the co-Grand Marshal of the Dutchess County Pride Parade as well, separately from OutHudson.
Oh,
So
both.
there's a number of celebrations all around the Hudson Valley.
So the return of Pride's a big deal right now because we've really had a couple of years off, both in Hudson and almost everywhere. There've been some small celebrations where people were able to. What feels different to you? What do you think is special about this year?
So this year, we are now able to have mass gatherings somewhat more safely than we did in the past. OutHudson did have a few celebrations the past couple of years, but we did not have the parade and we did not have all our traditions. So I think what feels different is that there's this sense that we all deserve a little celebration. We're all so ready for this, from what I'm hearing in the community. It's time, the time has arrived to fully step into Pride season in all of its glory, in all of its self-acceptance. And there couldn't be a better time to do that, even in a climate and landscape of transition to in the larger society and everything that's going on as well.
Is there a theme for this year?
Yeah, the OutHudson theme this year is out of this world. And so there's an alien, fun, outer space, choose your own alien gender identity sort of realness category that's available. And it actually was the theme of the pre-pandemic parade of the last year. So we actually carry that through line all the way through from 2020.
Oh, that's so cool. My husband and I marched in OutHudson's parade 3 years ago with Jeff Beals, who was a progressive candidate. And we marched on Warren Street, like next to a convertible, and he was JFK, and he had Marilyn as drag queen next to him, and we were all running alongside, and it was super fun, but it wasn't another world.
It was another world back then, for sure. And the political aspect is still very present, I would say, as queer activists. Those of us who are involved in supporting and advocating for the community know that there are still a number of challenges and struggles facing the LGBTQ community. And so we're present for that as well, advocating for trans kids and queer kids to feel more comfortable in their school environments, advocating for all different other issues as well, any remaining homophobia or discomfort in the community around our existence and visibility and sort of well-being. We continue in that work as well, of kind of cheerfully and joyfully educating our communities about who we are and the gifts that we all have, whether that be creating beautiful decorations, beautiful space, performing. There's so many talents and gifts that the queer communities bring to the Hudson Valley that really are such a lifeblood to the economy here, tourism industry, and everything that makes upstate so special is partially related to LGBTQ ingenuity and talent, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I always find, and maybe it's because I grew up in the 80s and I was marching down Fifth Avenue, and I met my husband on Gay Pride, and my parents marched with me. And I also feel, and maybe it's the shadow of AIDS, but I feel like it's celebration, but it's also what you said, the activism. And sometimes people forget there's also a little bit of fight in it. And I like to remind people that this is not just pure celebration, but pride in terms of channeling that energy towards action and demanding. And I think that people forget that.
Yeah, I really hear you. And particularly, as you said, in the past, before some of these equal protections were finally put together, it must have felt different. I would say that in my experience, pride still matters very deeply. Pride still matters for the youth, teens, and younger folks whose brains are still developing. They still feel kind of different and othered. And it's important to give that visibility to young folks to show that the incredible diversity of the queer community, queer families, queer grown-ups, queer kids, queer teenagers. It's very important to be there, just to sit there and be and show off. You never know what kind of impact that's going to have. And in fact, in one of the most recent prides, we had a couple of upper middle-aged adults who actually came out, who actually experienced a realization of their own sexual orientation or gender identity or something, and kind of came out into themselves in a new quantum leap of some kind by attending OutHudson in recent years. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I think just being who we are and making ourselves really visible, it has an effect.
And what should people expect this year, especially with OutHudson? I mean, there's more than just the parade.
So we're the city of Hudson is celebrating National Pride Month by raising the rainbow flag over City Hall for the entire month of June. In addition to that, OutHudson is sponsoring the parade on Saturday, June 4th at 2 p.m. And that's going to be a really beautiful, family-friendly, safe, fun mass gathering where we will all prance down Warren Street together, led by Mayor Kamal Johnson and myself as co-Grand Marshals, or as we affectionately call it in OutHudson, Grand Marsha, after Marsha P. Johnson. We also have about 14 other events in our lineup offered by our community event partners. For our introverts, you could look forward to a Thursday night, June 2nd, adult coloring club at Wild co-working space and cafe. It's going to be really cozy and beautiful, featuring local art. Also, the Hudson I Festival monthly recess series is going to showcase a local queer artist, I think a writer, in a salon on Sunday. For the dance parties, All the Body is a beloved annual tradition. Also, likewise, Poke the Bear down at Hudson Brewing Company is an after party right after the parade. Spills into a Poke the Bear beer party for those so inclined, and Trixie's Drag Extravaganza. Also, nearly stationary at Hudson Hall has a Pride edition on Saturday after the parade too, which features a really gorgeous ballet duo and the music of gay composer John Cage. So there's many different vibes that you can seek out while you're at OutHudson Pride.
And I put up a blog post with a lot of these activities and stuff on cydia.com, so people can go see those too. And how did you get this great gig to be co-Grand Marsha?
Well, this is a unique year, and I came into the directorship of OutHudson during the pandemic. We really went through so much change and transformation as OutHudson, as a city, as a region. And so there was this conversation about how to do this year, how to do that moment of coming out of the shadows of the quarantine and just simply keeping it down home, keeping it hometown. And, with some appreciation of the leadership throughout the pandemic, we reached out to Mayor Kamal, who is our youngest mayor in Hudson history, our first Black mayor in Hudson history, and who got elected during COVID. And we were so happy to connect with him. And then we just kind of felt that we would include me as well to co-marshal and sort of preside over festivities that we want to have be brought back and to feel safe and to feel really seen in the community. So Mayor Kamal and I will be sort of overseeing the celebration together. And I'll be wearing my Marsha P. Johnson flower crown with a lot of silver.
Great.
So that's all I'm going to leak about my outfits. I have multiple outfits planned.
I love Pride because it brings the community close together. I always found historically there was a lot of segregation within the gay community, between men and women, generations, and there was a lot of visibility for trans community. It was very segregated, and Pride is a moment where people can come together and rally and get to know each other and have shared purpose and shared values and be yourself, but as part of a family. And I feel that great energy from allies, and I like to feel that from other people around me too. So I look forward to that in Pride.
Totally. So many different valuable subcultures or sub-communities, or I don't know what to call it, like within that rainbow spectrum and within that alphabet of all the different letters. So we
And
all get to kind of make new connections. Youth are going to be marching right in up front with the first spot there. And we have our queer elders. We have a big range of floats marching in the parade. And I mean, for me personally and around town, from what I hear, Hudson is really like the P-town of upstate. We're really getting there. I think that it's a really architecturally significant town with multiple generations of queer history dating back to John Ashbery, basically our own private Walt Whitman, poet laureate. And we have multiple generations of gay and queer history in this city. I hope that the entire queer and ally community across the entire Hudson Valley becomes activated, motivated, inspired to build community, to build bridges of solidarity, and to stay active in the community safely, respectfully, obviously, with activism, with awareness about important issues, registering to vote, volunteer in the community. Any last remnants of that weird COVID stickiness that may have gotten lodged in our bones as a queer family, I pray that we can all dance it out together this year and to emerge fully from a quarantine mindset into the future.
Excited to share that Hudson Valley Kitchen Design Center, an area expert for kitchens, bathrooms, pantries, offices, closets, and yes, even home movie theaters, is now a sponsor of City It. Now, when you've got a room to rethink, refresh, or reimagine, you know who to call. For City It listeners, just mention the podcast to save $500 off a project of $5,000 or more. See recent projects and fun on Instagram, HV Kitchen Design Center, visit their site at hvkitchendesign.com, or call 845-615-9410 about a consultation. Links also from cityit.com. Thanks, Hudson Valley Kitchen Design Center. I can already feel Brian dialing your number. Now back to the show. So tell me more about OutHudson and its history and what it's about. I'm sure not everybody knows it. They know the parade, but they may not know the organization.
Pride is a month, and the entire month of June is National Pride Month. But OutHudson is actually an about 13 or 15-year-old nonprofit that actually serves the Columbia County, New York community, and was founded by a group of queer leaders to help support and advocate for the visibility and quality of life of queer people in this region at a time kind of before we had marriage equality and a lot of the protections that we currently have. So they really went out and began this process of putting together an organization to do the parade, to run a festival of additional programs, and also to create a scholarship fund to send one graduating 12th grader per year a scholarship to the college of their choice. They've really laid the groundwork for a vital advocacy nonprofit for queer folks in Columbia County. And one of our prior directors, Charlie Ferrucci, is the grandson of a beloved mayor. He is active in the LGBT advocacy space, and he notably was the first non-female homecoming queen at Hudson High. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about 10, 12 years ago, he and his boyfriend, I'm pretty sure that they were dating at the time, got elected together for homecoming. So, and he was the queen. And that was just a really big celebration and a big, interesting moment in that in the school district in the city of Hudson in upstate New York. And then our other outgoing director before me, the two co-directors before me, Rich Volo, also known as Trixie Star. And Trixie has been coordinating drag and various queer community in Hudson for many, many years. And she's currently running a special website called Trixie's List, where she keeps an eye out for all the important local happenings
I got a
in
very
Hudson Valley
nice write-up
culture.
on Trixie's List about my podcasting workshop.
I saw everybody reads Trixie's List. And of course, she's selling cookies for Ukraine, which is just the most fantastic
Oh, nice.
fundraiser.
Nice. And what's your relationship to Hudson and the Hudson Valley?
I am a first generation American. Most of my family is from Cuba. And my mom was born in Cuba and came over as a child, and I was born here. I grew up in Atlanta and came up to Lincoln Center, New York City. Spent a lot of time in Hell's Kitchen and all around the city for school, college, and a little bit after that. And then I made my way up to this region after receiving a job offer from a prep school in Berkshire County. And Berkshire County was wonderful, but I didn't feel called to live there. I felt called to live in Hudson. The energy, the architecture, the Hudson Valley really spoke to me in its combination of history and wildness. And so I've lived up here since my mid-20s. I've been up here for about 6 or 7 years and transitioned through teaching, grad school, yoga, teacher school, and most recently, actually something kind of interesting happened. I am the first, to my knowledge, trans non-binary person in US history to run for national elected office here in the 19th Congressional District of New York. So the community has really made me welcome, and I'm trying to give back and really make a crack in that glass ceiling for the queer community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I mean, it's so important when people, are first and do that, because then others can,
Yes, and I know that and there's so many examples of that. I mean, Shirley Chisholm running and many different other examples in the queer community that somebody kind of has to be the one to sort of come out of the cake, if you will, and just break the ice and get that process going. And I was shocked after running for a local position that again, to my best Googling, to my best knowledge, not a single trans person or non-binary person or anything has ever served in national elected office. So we're going to change that. We announced, and we're running, and we will see what happens.
So I ask everyone, my brother-in-law got me to ask this of every single guest, is what is your favorite secret, hidden, not so secret place in the Hudson Valley, if you have one?
My favorite place to eat is Lil Deb's Oasis.
Of course.
It's a queer-owned restaurant, which has been nominated for a James Beard. It's incredible, but that's not so secret.
Where do you go to get inspired?
So my secret spot that flashed to mind for this is actually just outside of Hudson in an adjoining town, and it's called the Wan Dharma Center. It is a Buddhist temple and retreat center set on multi-hundred acres of rolling pasture and fields and meadows with like a glass brutalist sort of temple and building, and the hiking trails and grounds are open to the community at various times when they're not hosting retreats and stuff. And they teach specific schools of meditation as well. And it's just a place where I've gotten so much solace and so much peace, just forest bathing, basically.
Wait, what's forest bathing? What's forest bathing?
Oh, yes. Let me put on my yoga teacher hat for a second. Forest bathing. So walking mindfully through the forest or through the woods, potentially like removing your footwear if you want to feel the soles of your feet on the mossy earth or on the grass, you can then begin to co-regulate your nervous system with the literal earth, and you feel your feet on the earth, and you take slow steps, and maybe you keep your arms out by your side, and you just sort of tune in and drop into the forest, to the soil, to the grass, the trees, and you soften your gaze and you introvert your awareness, and you just sort of go into that space where you're not doing a New York City power walk to the A train, which I've done, and you're not doing a hike exercise. You're actually slowing down and tuning in and sort of bathing in the essence of the forest, the chlorophyll, the green light, yeah. And it's so
Nice.
healing. It's so restorative.
I want to go forest bathing.
Yes, come. It's not on the Pride lineup, but we can arrange that.
Thanks, Ocean and OutHudson, as well as Stanford Pride, Dutchess Pride, Big Gay Hudson Valley, and many other groups who contributed to the info on the blog post. I'm really excited for Pride. Brian and I are going to march. There's Hudson, there's Millbrook, there's Stanford, there's Callicoon, New Paltz, Pittsfield, and more. And when it's all over, you know what I'm going to do to relax and recenter myself and restore. Yup, forest bathing. I'm Matt Zucker. Happy Pride, and thank you to all the allies out there. I hope you know how powerful your presence is. It's a big month in the Hudson Valley, Catskills, and Berkshires. These are challenging times. But as Ocean said, we're going to dance it out. Come visit.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living, and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 part kilos, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan, and they call me a city, yeah. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a city, yeah. 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 I'm a city, yeah.